The following episode contains stories of the unexplained, including paranormal encounters, mysterious creatures, and eerie legends. These stories are shared from the perspectives of eyewitnesses and are presented for entertainment purposes. Listener discretion is advised, as some content may be disturbing or unsettling. Story 1. Something? Yep, she tried to steal some makeup they called her parents instead of the cops. Benny said we set up 3 empty cans on a log about FT away he'd already had. 2 beers, and was working on his 3rd. Benny could always drink more than me and Jace without even showing. It must be nice having connections, Jace said. Remember when Mark got caught stealing that video game? They pressed charges on him. Well, that's because Mark's dad isn't exactly friends with the police chief, I pointed out. Benny pumped the BB gun times and took aim at the first can, squinting one eye shut. Mark's an idiot anyway. He stole. Shaq Fu, of all games, worst game ever. The BB gun made a sharp crack as he fired, and we watched the first can tip over. Nice, Jay said. So what's happening with Philip's class next year, I asked. Is he still making everyone do that stupid leaf collection thing? Jace groaned. Different species all due the second week. I had to steal half of mine for my sister's collection from the year. Before I just made up names for half of them, Benny said, taking aim at the second. Can red pointy leaf, green round leaf Phillips never even checked. Guys, another crack and another can down, man. I'm still not looking forward to that, I said, or that summer reading test. Did you guys actually read the books? I bought the Cliff's Notes for 2 of them, Jace admitted. I didn't even do that, Benny said, lining up a 3rd shot. The BB missed this time, pinging off into the woods. Weak, Jace laughed. Give me that thing. They passed the gun back and forth for a while, setting up the cans over and over. I wasn't nearly as good a shot as either of them, especially after a couple of beers, so I mostly just watched as the night went on. The conversation shifted like it always did when we were out there in the dark. You guys ever hear about the thing people see out in the state forest? Benny asked, reloading the BB's. What thing? I asked. My cousin was camping out there last month, swears he saw something weird, like a person, but not a person, watching their campsite. Jake rolled his eyes. Your cousin's always making up bullcrap stories. No. Other people have seen stuff like this too. There was an article in the town paper like years ago. This guy who was hunting said he saw something in the trees following him. Not a bear or anything normal, just something that moved weird. Like what? Bigfoot? Jace laughed. No, like something that could climb really fast. He said it was there and then gone, like it was swinging through the branches. Oh, so a monkey escaped from a zoo or something. I suggested I wasn't even being sarcastic. That was a real possibility to me, but I don't think he took it that way. Benny shook his head. Said it was big, like person-sized. There's that mental hospital about him from here, Jace said. Maybe it was just some escaped patient. In the trees, Vinny countered. And my cousin said the same thing, though that it moved between trees too fast to be a person. I was starting to get that creepy feeling that comes to you when you're tipsy and it's dark and someone starts telling ghost stories. Can we talk about something else? Oh, are you scared? Jace teased. No, it's just dumb. There's other stories too, Benny continued, ignoring me. My dad's friends. A cop, he said they get calls every couple years about something in those woods. They always write it off as teenagers messing around or people seeing things, but they get the calls. Like what specifically? Jace asked. I could tell he was starting to get into it, like something watching people from the trees, something that shouldn't be there. One lady swore she saw a guy with wings. Oh, come on, I groaned. Like an angel? Jace asked. No, not normal wings, like bat wings or something, but huge, Benny tried to explain. A sudden breeze came through the clearing and the trees rustled, made the hair on my arm stand up. Well, let's just talk about something else, like how Heather Wilson definitely likes you, Jace. I said that successfully. Changed the subject, and we spent the next minutes ribbing Jace about his obvious crush on Heather and his complete inability to talk to her without turning red by the time we'd finished the beers. I brought it was close to AM and we were all feeling pretty good. We sat back on that fallen tree and stared up at the stars. It was a clear night, and out there, away from the town lights, you could see the Milky Way spread across the sky. It was quiet, except for the crickets and the occasional hoot of an owl man. I wish we could just stay out here instead of going back. No parents, no school, no nothing. Benny sighed. You'd last about days before you'd be dying for a shower. And your Nintendo. Jace laughed. Benny admitted it went quiet again. We were just watching the sky. Eventually I noticed something moving against the night sky, a darker shape blocking out the stars briefly as it passed overhead. At first I thought it was a large bird, but it moved a bit too fast and seemed a bit too big. Are you guys seeing that? I asked, sitting up. See what? Jace asked. I pointed up. Something flew over. Too big to be a bird. Probably a bat, Vinny said. Too big for a bat either. They both sat up now, looking to where I was, pointing. Then we all saw it, a large dark shape moving across the starfield, circling back towards us. What the heck is that? Jay whispered before any of us could answer. The shape plummeted down fast, so fast it was like a blur, and it landed in the top of the tallest pine tree across the clearing from us. We saw the whole tree shake with the impact. We all froze in the faint moonlight. We could make out a silhouette, perched at the very top. Maybe I drank a little too much, I thought, but it almost looked human-shaped. But something was off about it, and extending from its back were what looked to be two large and folded wings. Holy crap, you guys are seeing that? Right, Vinny whispered. Yeah. My mouth was dry then. What is it? I don't know, but it's looking right at us. Jay said he was right, even though I couldn't make out any details in the darkness or in the distance. I could feel it watching us. It didn't move. It was just perched. There, the branches occasionally creaking under its weight. Got to be some sort of big owl, right? Suggested, but not really sure about that. That's no owl, Vinny said. That's a person with wings, and that's not possible, Jace whispered. Then, what else is it? Benny shot back as we argued together, trying to be quiet. The figure moved just a bit, adjusting its position on the branch. Movement was very smooth, both natural and unnatural at the same time. We need to go back, I said, starting to stand up. Wait, Benny said. I didn't like the sound in his voice. It sounded familiar, the kind of tone he always had. When he wanted to do something stupid, he grabbed the BB gun from where it was. Leaning against the log, I want to see what it does. Don't, I tried to say, but he was. Already pumping that BB gun once, twice, 3 times. It's just a BB, he whispered. It's not going to hurt anything. I just want to see if it's real, Benny. Don't be stupid, Jace warned. But Benny had that look he got when he was drunk and was certain to do something stupid. There was no stopping him now. He raised the gun, aiming it at the silhouette in the tree. I wanted to stop him, but I was paralyzed with a weird mix of fear and curiosity. Benny squeezed the trigger, and for a split second I prayed that what we saw in that tree really was just a bird or some sort of weird branch. The crack of the BB gun seemed impossibly loud in that quiet night. We heard the metallic ping as the BB hit something solid, followed by the rustle of pine needles. For a moment nothing happened until we heard it, a sound that started like a human chuckle, but twisted into something higher and sharper, almost like radioactive or an insect buzzing. The silhouette straightened up, standing on the branch in a way that shouldn't have been possible without it breaking or falling. It extended its arms to the sides, and those winged-like shapes spread, open, blocking out even more stars. Then it raised one arm and pointed directly at us. We did not need to discuss what to do next. All 3 of us took off running at the same time, crashing through the underbrush in the dark. I don't think I've ever run so fast before. I could hear Jace and Benny right behind me, their breathing as panicked as mine. Did you see that? Benny kept saying between breaths as we ran. Did you see it stand up? Shut up and run, Jace snapped him. Was sure I could hear something moving through the trees above us, branches shaking and pine needles raining down, but I didn't dare try to look up. We did not slow down a bit until we hit the edge of my neighborhood. When I saw streetlights I could have passed out with relief. We stood under one of the streetlights, all of us out of breath and sweating now. Benny had dropped the BB gun somewhere during our escape. What the heck was that? Jace finally asked. I have no idea. I said I ain't going back there at night anymore. It pointed at us, Vinny said. After I shot it, it pointed right at us. We walked the rest of the way, quietly, jumping at every little sound. When we got to my house, none of us wanted to be alone. You guys want to crash at my place? offered, "My parents won't check my room." Without a moment of hesitation, they both agreed. We crawled back through my bedroom window, and all three of us crammed into my room. Jace was on a spare mattress in the floor. Benny was in my beanbag chair, and I had the bed we left, the lights on, and we talked in quiet voices about what we'd seen coming up, with increasingly ridiculous explanations to try to make ourselves feel somewhat better. Eventually, exhaustion and the beer caught up with us, and we all fell asleep come morning. I was the first to wake up. Jace and Benny were still passed out, but something felt strange. I looked around the room, trying to figure out what exactly was bothering me, and I noticed my window was open. Wide, I hadn't left it that way. The curtains were moving slightly in the breeze. There was a shimmer, and I saw it, a single BB sitting on the middle of my nightstand right next to my alarm clock, a BB that had not been there the night before. Jace, Benny and I didn't talk much about that night afterward, and whenever we actually did, it was us trying to convince ourselves we'd seen a large owl, or some trick of the light combined with too many beers, too many ghost stories. But I am sure of what we saw, and sometimes even now, all these years later, I find myself looking up at the night sky, wondering if I'll see that shape again. And I never ever sleep with my window open or unlocked, because when I start to think about what stood in my room while we were sleeping, it brings tears to my eyes. Story 2. The retreat from our sim. I did not want to go to my cousin's wedding. It's not because I disliked my cousin Angie. We've actually always been close, but her fiancé just had to have the ceremony at his family's quote-unquote rustic retreat in Washington's Olympic Peninsula in April, who plans an outdoor wedding in one of the rainiest places in the continental US during spring. But family obligations are what they are, so I was soon flying from Phoenix to Seattle, driving a rental car. To the small town of Forks, Washington, I'd been assigned to carpool with my Aunt Donna and her new boyfriend, Lyndon, both of whom were in there. Not my idea of an ideal scenario, but I figured we'd check into our hotel, attend the wedding, and be back to civilization. Within 2 days, the trouble began when we got lost. It was because Lyndon insisted he knew a shortcut to the venue that would save us minutes. Aunt Donna was always eager to please her new beau and agreed enthusiastically, so I was outvoted. Instead of staying on the main highway, we turned onto an unmarked forest road that Lyndon swore would lead directly to the Lewis family property. Hours later, with no cell service and increasingly dense fog, it was clear that we were hopelessly lost. The gravel road had branched multiple times by now, and Lyndon had made several confident choices that had led us deeper into the forest. The sun was starting to be overshadowed by dense tree coverage, and the thickening fog visibility was getting lower by the minute. At that point, I could probably see FT in front of the car. "We should turn around," I said for the third time. "The wedding's in hours, and we still need to check in and change just over this ridge." Lyndon insisted. "I can see on the map that we're close by." Map he was talking about, a weathered paper tourist map he had picked up from a gas station, not a GPS, which would have been nicer, but it hadn't worked since we turned off the main road. My aunt was patting him on the arm, insisting that he was doing a good job. Lyndon knows these woods. He used to come camping here in the SI. Tried not to roll my eyes, just staring outside the window. The forest was beautiful, though. But when you think about how lost you are in the middle of woods like this, it goes from beautiful to unsettling, real, quick. Even with the windows rolled up, it was way too quiet out there. Nothing but the sound of crunching tires on gravel and the occasional scraping of branches against the car. "Stop!" I suddenly shouted, causing Lyndon to practically slam on the brakes. What is it?" he demanded. Poor guy nearly had a heart attack. "I saw a building back there, through the trees." I pointed to a gap in the trees about a yard away. Lyndon was about to say something, but Donna spoke first. "Let's check it out, just in case someone can give us some directions." Reluctantly, Lyndon reversed until we could see what I'd spotted, an old structure set back from the road. It wasn't exactly inviting, just an old wooden building that might once have been painted green with a sagging porch and boarded up windows. Looked more like an abandoned ranger station, or perhaps an old store. There was a faded sign beside the door, but I couldn't make out what it said from there. "I don't think anyone's home, guys," Lyndon said, but he pulled over anyway. We went up to the building slowly, up close. I Could finally read that sign. It was a general store established, and someone had nailed a piece of plywood with spray-painted letters that said, "Closed forever." A little melodramatic. I thought, "Don't think we'll be getting any directions here," Lyndon said. "Let's just go." But then I noticed something else, a newer-looking piece of paper tacked beside the door, partially protected from the elements by the porch overhang. I stepped up closer to read it. "If lost use. Rear entrance proprietor in residence. Someone's living here and..." Donna whispered, "Only one way to find out," I said, already heading around the side of the building. The rear of the place looked more lived in than the front. I could hear a generator, and there was smoke trickling from a metal stovepipe. The back door was made with heavy wood and had a small window, and it was intact, unlike the boarded-up windows at the front, so I knocked. I didn't get a response, so I knocked again, louder, and still nothing. "Let's go," Lyndon called from where he and Aunt Donna waited at the corner of the building. "No one's home." As I turned to leave, the door creaked open a bit, but I didn't see anyone through the gap. I leaned in. "Hello, we're lost and looking for some directions to the Lewis property. They're hosting a wedding today." The door opened a bit wider, revealing a dimly lit interior, but still no people. After an awkward moment, I realized the door had simply drifted open from my knocking, but I tried again. "Hello, anyone here?" A voice answered from the darkness, so soft I nearly missed it. "Come in if you need help. Don't go outside when the fog's like this." I glanced back at Lyndon and Aunt Donna, who had edged closer but still looked hesitant. "There's someone in there," I whispered, "and they mentioned the fog. Maybe they know the forecast, and maybe they know directions." "I don't think we should go in there," Lyndon said, looking at the doorway. "Looks like something from a scary movie." For once, after a long while, Aunt Donna disagreed. "We're already running late, and we're lost. What choice do we have?" She moved past me and stepped inside. Lyndon and I had little choice but to follow her. The inside was nothing like I expected. The outside looked abandoned, right? But the inside was well maintained, if antiquated. There were oil lamps illuminating walls lined with shelves of supplies like canned goods and tools and outdoor equipment. There was a wood stove giving off heat from one corner, looked like a functioning general store from decades. Past a pretty cool sight, at a counter near the back, sat an elderly man with a long white beard. He wore a flannel shirt and suspenders, looking every bit the stereotypical mountain man. His eyes, though, were sharp and alert as they examined us. "You folks are a long way from the main road," he said, "and on a bad day for it. We're trying to get to the Lewis property," Aunt Donna explained to him. "We've got a wedding to get to." The old man frowned. "The Lewis place that's been abandoned for years, I think ever since the incident with her boy." "That can't be right," said Lyndon. "Our niece is marrying Baron Lewis today. Maybe you know him. They sent us directions to their family property for the ceremony at the name Baron Lewis." The old man's face changed. He stood straight up and walked over to a curtained doorway behind the counter. "Wait here," he ordered, then disappeared into a back room. I was very confused, and I think the other two were too. "What do you think that was about?" I whispered. "Maybe he's confused." And Donna shrugged. "He seems old." "Oh, thing gives me the creeps," Lyndon muttered. "For the last time, let's just go." Before we could decide anything, the old man came back. He had a yellowed newspaper clipping protected in a plastic sleeve. He laid it on the counter, pointing a gnarled finger at the headline, "Local teen missing in forest presumed dead." The article, dated June, described the disappearance of year-old Baron Lewis during a family camping trip at their property in the Olympic National Forest. Despite extensive searches, only his shoe was ever found near some river. The family moved away shortly. "After that must be some kind of coincidence," Anton said. "Angie's fiancé is Baron Lewis. He grew up here and his family never left." The old man looked dead. "Serious then? Who sent you up the road today? This road doesn't even lead to the Lewis property. It doesn't lead anywhere except deeper into the forest." I told him the directions came in the wedding invitation. We followed them until Lyndon decided to take a shortcut. "Shortcut," Lyndon said. "I've been following the directions. Exactly, turn right at the wooden bridge. Follow the road. Miles, turn left at the fork with the lightning-struck tree." The old man went still. Those aren't directions to the Lewis place, those are. He trailed off then, moved over to the window. He parted the curtain, looked out, then said, "The fog's getting thicker, you need to go." "What we just got here, what's wrong?" I asked. He turned back to us, eyes now filled with a mixture of pity and fear. The old man stared at us for a long moment, couldn't tell what he was thinking. Then he said, "Something's not right here. Those directions, they're old Forest Service routes, shouldn't have been on any public maps for decades." "What do you mean by that?" I asked the old man, then pointed towards the window. "The forest has its ways. Most folks don't understand it. These woods are older than anything else around here." He spoke like someone who knew things that he shouldn't, things that I didn't want to hear about. It's easy to get turned around, especially in this kind of weather. Under normal circumstances, I'd have dismissed this as the ramblings of an isolated old man, but the fog outside had become extremely thick, and somewhere in the back of my mind there was a doubt forming about the wedding invite. I thought about Angie's whirlwind romance with a man none of us had ever met before, and the sudden engagement announcement. "How did you end up here?" I asked the old man. "Funny story that I got lost myself decades ago, found this place, and ended up working for the previous owner, and the longer I worked here, the more unbelievable things he'd tell me. Eventually, he passed and left the place in his will. It's not much, as you can see, but I felt as if I needed to be here. Lots of folks get turned around out here and need some directions." And Donna had gone to the window and was looking out of it. "The car is gone," she said. We rushed to look where our rental car had been parked. There was nothing but dense fog. "That's not good," said the old man. "It means you need to leave immediately before you can't leave." "This is all ridiculous," Lyndon sputtered. "You guys just aren't looking in the right place, and what he's saying doesn't make any sense. We should just call someone." "Instead, phone's on the counter," the old man said. "Won't work, but you can try." Lyndon grabbed that old rotary phone and put it to his ear. I actually had to Google what the phone was called, by the way. Then I watched him shake his head. "Didn't work well, we're leaving," Lyndon announced, and headed for the front door. "We'll walk back to the main road if we have to." The old man made no move to stop him. "Front door hasn't opened in years, but you're welcome to try that too." Lyndon grasped the handle and pulled, and of course nothing happened. He pulled harder, then tried pushing, but that door didn't budge. "It's locked." "Accused?" "No," the old man replied. "It's just not there anymore. Not while the fog is here." The three of us looked at the man like he was crazy, because what in the world did that even mean? "It's just not there anymore. What are you trying to say?" Demanded. "What is happening?" "Well, the fog's too thick now. That means we can't go. You're going to have to wait it out till the fog thins out." "I don't understand anything you're talking about, Aunt Donna whispered. "These woods are older than people. They have their ways. Might as well get comfortable, folks. Could be hours or even days." He disappeared for a moment, then brought back mugs of coffee. We talked with the man, trying to get him to make sense, trying to figure out if we were in danger, and if we were, was it from him or from something in the woods? Could go either way. From the way he talked, but he was right. In a couple of hours the fog cleared up, and I swear to God, where we'd looked earlier and saw no car, there was the car again. How that is possible, I have no idea. So I've chalked it up to the fog just completely. Swallowing it as we were about to leave, we turned to thank the old man for letting us stay, but he was completely gone. This wasn't a very big building, and we checked every nook and cranny. We hadn't fallen asleep or anything, so how? The man was just gone. We have no explanation. I remember Lyndon saying, "This is insane. Let's leave now, please." We walked over to the back door, and Lyndon yanked it open with ease. There was the forest path, and the fog was starting to recede. See, that old man was just trying to scare us. Guess it makes sense if you're out here all alone all the time. What little visitors you have, you got to make it entertaining from there. We got back in the car. We turned around and drove back the other way. We found the main road, and we made our way to the wedding. It was a normal, peaceful wedding. I met Baron Lewis, and I guess he didn't have any connection beyond the name to the other Baron. If you're reading this story, I just can't make sense of anything we experienced. So for the love of God, leave a comment or reply, and let me know what you think happened. Was it a crazy old man or something? Story 3. More my highway experience from Terry. Not I was raised by practical parents. My father was an engineer and my mother was a high school science teacher. Both of them taught me to look for logical explanations before jumping to conclusions. I recall that conversation coming about from discussions about UFOs. But it covers all paranormal phenomena. That mindset served me well throughout college and in my day-to-day life until something happened on highway in New Mexico about years ago. For those of you who don't know, highway was actually formerly designated as highway. It was renamed they called it the Devil's Highway, partly because of the number, but mostly because of its reputation, fatal accidents, strange occurrences. Growing up in Durango, Colorado, we'd hear stories about that road, but from my upbringing, I would just say they were superstitious nonsense explanations for bad driving conditions and poor road maintenance. Now onto my story. My experience happened when I was driving south from Cortez, Colorado to Gallup, New Mexico to visit my grandfather in the hospital. He'd had a stroke and the doctors weren't sure how much time he had left. I would be taking the most direct route highway through Shiprock, a road I'd never driven before but had heard plenty about. I left Cortez later than planned around PM on a Friday in early November. The sun was already setting, but I wasn't too concerned about that. The map on my phone showed the drive would take about hours, putting me in Gallup aroundish, not too late to stop by the hospital before visiting hours ended. The first hour was boring. Traffic was light, and to help with the boringness, I had a playlist of podcasts to keep me company. I crossed from Colorado into New Mexico. By the time it was dark, I stopped for gas at a small place, grabbed some snacks and coffee too. I checked the time, then remembering it sounded like I was making good time. Minutes after getting back on the road, my podcasts started to cut out, which was annoying. I should have downloaded them when I had Wi-Fi or mobile internet rather than trusting wishy-washy signal. I hoped it was just a temporary dead zone that would clear up soon. I switched to my music, which I did download, but even that began to skip and distort for some reason. Didn't make sense because it wasn't streaming around the same time. My dashboard electronics began to act up, the radio, the temperature display, even my headlights were beginning to dim or blink. It was then that I noticed headlights behind me. There was a vehicle behind me, and after several minutes I realized they kept a constant distance, not close enough to be tailgating, just maintaining perfect spacing. Regardless of my speed, I'd been speeding up and slowing down, and yet they did the same. Nothing crazy yet, but something to keep an eye on. I thought the road was mostly empty. Hadn't passed another car in about half an hour to ease my mind. I considered pulling over to let this guy pass, but something told me that wasn't a good idea. Instead, I decided to just increase my speed significantly, hoping to finally put some distance between us and get those pesky headlights out of my rear view mirror. When I say significantly, I mean I sped up about mph. Dangerous, sure, but it was enough to make sure that he wasn't keeping pace with me. And then I saw that he was. Why would he speed up that much? Something about this felt eerie. I kept glancing in my rearview mirror, keeping an eye on my guest behind me, and suddenly when I looked ahead again, I screamed and hit the brakes as I saw a figure standing in the road ahead. I stopped, maybe 15 from the figure, a woman standing motionless in the middle of the road at this hour. Why would you stand in the middle of the road after dark? That's just suicide. She appeared to be a middle-aged Native American woman. She looked normal until I saw her face. Her face was wet, dripping moisture onto the asphalt, but they weren't tears. It looked like she had been drenched in water, submerged in it. Even I was so flabbergasted. What was she doing in the road after dark and soaking wet with no water sources nearby to speak of and skies that were completely clear? I then remembered the car behind me, and I glanced in the rear view. The headlights were gone. I never saw them pass me, never saw them stop, but the road behind me was now completely dark. When I looked ahead again, the woman was now approaching my car. The closer she got, the more my heart pounded, but I didn't just take off. What if she was in trouble? I rolled down my window for her, and she spoke to me. What she said at first sounded like Navajo, I think, but then she switched to English. Turn back, death on the road tonight. I'm sorry. Was there an accident somewhere? I asked. She shook her head, then walked away to the other side of the road, into the dark, feeling levels of Anxiety never thought possible before I began to pull away moments later, right? Before reaching full speed, I slammed the brakes again. There's a massive shape in the road and my headlights landed on an overturned semi-meter spanning both lanes. There was debris scattered all over the asphalt and fuel or something was pulling across the road. I stopped maybe yards from the wreckage. Remember how I said I'd been going over to get away from that car behind me if I hadn't stopped for that? Woman and I kept going that speed. I would be dead. I would have hit this overturned semi going way over the speed limit, and I would not be here to tell this story. I put on my hazard lights and reached for my phone. The signal was back. In full, I dialed Lady on the road. Thank you for saving my life. I don't know who or what you are. Maybe you're just some normal woman who saved my life, but I just want to say thank. Story 4. You Goatman is real people from Maryland. Maryland. Quick note before I share my story. I changed up the names for the sake of anonymity, especially for the kids. Everything else is true and remains the same. Shout out to my Maryland homies if you're not from Maryland. You should know that we have a bunch of different stories and legends. The Bunnyman Bridge, the Blair Witch, which some might argue is more of a media thing, and of course, the Goatman. My husband used to tease me for refusing to even discuss these things around the kids. I didn't want to fill their little heads with monster stories. It would keep them up at night, make them scared of the dark, and that sounded like irresponsible parenting. It felt even more irresponsible because our family loved going in the outdoors. Not too long ago, we were out for a routine camping trip to Patapsco Valley State Park. We'd been there several times before. It's less than an hour from our home in Columbia, after all. That weekend was special. My sister Rachel and her family would be joining us. They had moved off to Virginia a few years ago, and it was a nice opportunity to get all the cousins together for an outdoor adventure. We reserved 2 adjacent campsites in a more secluded area of the park. These sites were nicely spaced out, with thick woods between campers, giving each group plenty of privacy. Our setup was pretty standard: 2 family tents for the adults and a smaller one for the 4 kids. Rachel and I each had 2. The first day went perfectly. We hiked along the river and had a picnic lunch at one of the falls. Then we spent the afternoon fishing. The kids caught nothing but had a blast, trying before getting inevitably distracted. That evening my husband made hot dogs and we told appropriate campfire stories. Nothing supernatural, mostly just embarrassing stuff Rachel and I did as kids. We turned in around PM. I remember waking up in the middle of the night, still dark out. I could hear something moving outside. I assumed it was a raccoon or deer. Both are very common in the park, but there was something odd about the rhythm of that movement. It didn't sound like a scurrying raccoon, or the cautious and gentle steps of deer sounded more like a person walking around slowly through the campsite. I nudged my husband. I'll refer to him as Kevin. Awake. There's someone outside, I whispered. He listened for a moment. Maybe one of the kids, I don't know, could be a raccoon. Did we lock up the cooler? Yeah, but this sounds bigger. Told him. He listened some more and agreed. He then grabbed his flashlight and unzipped the tent just enough to peek out. He shined the light around the campsite, then looked at me. I don't see anyone out there. I think my brother-in-law or something just went to the bathroom. Made sense to me, so we laid back down and tried to get some sleep as I was beginning to drift off again. The footsteps came back. This time I caught another detail. They had this cadence to them, like someone was walking with an uneven gait. Then I heard something brush against our tent, running a hand or something like a hand along the fabric from one end to the other. Kevin, I hissed, extremely scared. Now he was already sitting up, had his flashlight in his hand. I'll check it. Out, he said. Reaching for the tent zipper, I grabbed him by his arm and told him, don't go out there. It's probably just teenagers or someone messing with us, he said. But I could tell from the sound of his voice he was frightened. Then there was a sudden noise from the kids' tent, making us both freeze. It was a sharp intake of breath, followed by a frightened whisper saying, Mum. It was our oldest. I'll call him Jake for the story. Before we could respond to Jake, we heard a low, scraping sound against the kids' tent, followed by quiet whimpering from inside. Kevin was out of our tent in seconds, with me right behind him. Campsite was lit only dimly because we'd put the fire out earlier, so all we had was some dying embers. Kevin shined the flashlight towards the kids' tent and called out, "Hey, who's there?" The beam caught something moving at the edge of our campsite. A tall, dark figure. It seemed to be going back into the woods. It moved in such a strange way, not like a person running. "Jake Tyler, you guys." "Okay," Kevin called. "Dad, there's someone outside." Jake's voice trembled. We heard breathing right next to the tent. Kevin quickly unzipped their tent and checked on the boys. They were huddled together in their sleeping bags, obviously scared. I hurried over to Rachel's tent to wake them. Within minutes, we were all gathered at the picnic table, flashlights pointing outward in a circle of light. The kids were really freaked out, especially Ethan, who kept insisting he'd seen a face peering in through the mesh window of the tent. A face that he said wasn't right. "What do you mean wasn't right?" Rachel's husband Tom asked Ethan. Looked down at his hands. "It had horns," he whispered, "or antlers, I don't know, and its eyes were weird." "You were dreaming, buddy," Tom said. We decided it would be best to stay up for a while, thinking there was safety in numbers, and certainly some safety in keeping our guard up. Tom thought it might be a homeless person, perhaps someone on drugs who had wandered into the park. Kevin thought it might be other campers playing some pranks. Neither explanation felt right to me, but I didn't say that just yet. I didn't want to scare the kids any more than they already were. After about minutes with no further disturbances, we were starting to feel relaxed. Tom was about to suggest we head back to our tents when we heard it, a strange bleating cry from the woods, somewhere between a goat's call and someone trying to imitate human speech. The sound was so crazy and horrifying, all of us just sat there paralyzed. It came again, closer this time, followed by the distinct crack of branches breaking under heavy weight. "Inside the car now," Kevin said. Our SUV was parked just a few yards away at the edge of the campsite. We hurried the kids toward the vehicle when a certain smell hit us, a powerful odor like wet fur and musk, maybe even something rotten. It was so strong it made my eyes water. Tom was at the end of the line and shouted, "Run!" I looked back for a moment to see what had startled him, and I caught a glimpse of something moving between the trees, something tall and dark and running on two legs in a way that seemed so wrong, as if this person or creature was only just now learning how to use their own legs. The moonlight was barely enough, but what I saw was something with horns or something with large protrusions on its head. We piled into the SUV and locked the doors. Kevin started the engine, turning on the headlights, and for a few moments we saw nothing. "What was that?" Rachel whispered, clutching Maddie to her chest in the back seat. "I don't know," Kevin replied. He was gripping the steering wheel so hard I thought he might rip it off, and then we saw it. It stepped right into our light, only for a moment, but long enough for all of us to see it. So I'm not alone in this experience. Standing at the edge of our campsite was something that was FT tall. At least it had the general shape of a man, but with a head of what looked more like a goat or ram, complete with curved horns. Its body was covered in fur, and it was on two legs bent backward at the knee. Reminded me of a goat's legs. I saw a yellowish reflection in the eyes like an animal's, and they were staring directly at us. In that instant I felt like prey being eyed by a predator. The kids screamed. Tom started shouting for Kevin to drive, and I couldn't look away from those eyes. Kevin put the car into reverse just as the creature took a step forward. We backed up to the campground's main road, then sped toward the park entrance, leaving our entire campsite, the tents, the food equipment, everything behind. We drove straight to the nearest police station, and we filed a report about what happened. The officers were obviously skeptical, but they were still professional. They took our statements and sent a patrol car to check the campsite. A few hours later, we were called. They let us know that they'd found nothing unusual, though our camping equipment appeared scattered around the site. They suggested it may have been bears, and that we should be more careful with food left out of containers. But I know what we saw, and I know we didn't leave any food out. We returned with a park ranger the next morning to collect our things. Everything was indeed strewn about, but not in the way bears typically ransack a campsite. There were no torn coolers or food wrappers. Instead, it looked like someone had carefully examined each item, then discarded it. My camera, which had left in the tent, was missing, so was Jake's pocket knife and oddly all of our shoes had been left outside the tent. I wondered if it had been sniffing them. The ranger noticed something else, a series of unusual tracks in the earth around our campsite. They looked like hoof prints. On our drive home, Jake finally told us what had woke him up in the tent. He'd felt something touching his sleeping bag, pressing down as if feeling the shape of his body through the fabric. When he opened his eyes, he saw what he thought was a hand silhouetted against the tent wall, except it was very large with 2 long and 2 bendy fingers. We haven't gone back to Patapsco Valley State Park. We actually stopped camping altogether for a while until the kids started to ask to go again, really. It was their call nowadays. We only camp in designated grounds with plenty of other people nearby, and we always bring our dog, who has a keen sense of anything unusual. I can't tell you for sure what we saw that night. I don't know if it's the same creature from those Goatman stories or something else entirely. Maybe it's a deformed psychotic man, but I do know it was real and that this experience really happened. If it was Goatman, they say that he is curious about humans, but I highly doubt it would be in an innocent way. Whoa, that first story was a bit of a banger. I'm not going to lie, if you've made it to the end of this episode of Unexplained Encounters, thank you, but also leave a comment below. Even if you're on Spotify, you can leave comments now, but I want to know, should that first story, The Night My Friends Almost Got Me Killed, belong in his best of list anyway? Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm your host, Darkness Prevails. If you could be so kind as to follow and rate Unexplained Encounters on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, I would be so grateful. And consider checking out my new hardcover book, a beautifully bound collection of terrifying, creepy campfire stories to share on your next camping trip. It's called Creepy Campfire Stories, and you can find it on Amazon. Look up Creepy Campfire Stories by Darkness Prevails, or just click the link in the description. Thank you. Until next time, everyone, stay safe out there and stay creepy, because this world is a strange one. Story 5. You can't be serious? Jenny asked. The look of contempt on her face was so obvious that even Charlotte picked up on it. She had been trying to help, to offer a genuine suggestion, but her sister's open mouth and squinting eyes seemed to mean that she had gotten it wrong. Again. Charlotte yelled the activation words in her mind. Seaman, help! Spinal Integrated Mental Assistance Nanite. Online. Hello, Miss Merriweather. How can I be of assistance? Are those pictures crooked, or are they straight? Charlotte demanded within her mind. Well, the left-hand picture frame is 17 degrees titled off its y-axis, and the one on the right is also 9 degrees off-center. Charlotte's fear transformed into righteous vindication. She was right. How could she ever have doubted herself? And why was Jenny acting as though she had declared that the sky was purple? It didn't make any sense. Seaman says that they are crooked, he can tell, Charlotte said, holding her chin high and knowing that her sister would never be able to argue with the accuracy of the AI chip. I'm sure they are, Jenny said, sighing through the words. It's just rude to point it out. Wait, what? Seaman, what does she mean? Explain the situation to me, please, Miss Merriweather. You had me offline when it occurred. Charlotte ran through the whole scenario in her mind, imagining each image with a pinpoint accuracy to the details. Seaman, the marvel that he was, would be able to watch along with her. She had arrived early at her sister's house, knowing she would need some extra time to adjust to the new surroundings. She was so proud of herself for the forethought and actually being able to follow through. Normally she was late, and it was all an overwhelming experience of loud voices, strange rooms, and uncomfortable greetings. Jenny had not lived in her new house long, and Charlotte had not visited regularly enough for it to all be familiar yet. When she had arrived, her sister hadn't even noticed or commented on the victory. In fact, she had seemed almost irritated that she had shown up before the stated time. As Charlotte had been led through the house to the lounge, Jenny had loudly and insistently apologized for the mess, and that she was still in the process of straightening up, to which Charlotte had simply pointed out that the picture frames were all wonky. Ah, I see. Miss Merriweather, when arriving at another's home, it is commonplace that they might comment on how unkempt the house is. What you must understand is that they have likely spent a great deal of time cleaning, ready for your arrival, and that it is humility they are expressing. The correct response would be to praise them on their efforts and point out that it is, in fact, not untidy at all. But she said she was straightening up, and those aren't straight at all. An expression. I recommend you apologize, tell her that everything looks lovely, and you are appreciative of the effort she has gone to host your 21st birthday party. Happy birthday, by the way. Thanks. Okay, I'll try it. Here goes. Sorry, Jenny. Seaman says I was rude. Everything looks lovely, and I am appreciative of the effort you have gone to host my 21st birthday party. That's okay, sis, and you are most welcome, she replied with an instant smile. That computer chip might just be worth the fortune we spent on it. I hope you're finding it a help. Just because you have every issue under the sun that begins with A doesn't mean you can't learn a few manners. Actually, it kind of does. Don't say that out loud, Miss Merriweather. So, are you going to straighten those frames? Charlotte asked in her most innocent voice. No! Jenny responded immediately with a strange smile that was part amusement and part annoyance. That didn't make sense. Those emotions were opposites. She stalked off to the kitchen, where Charlotte could smell something good cooking. Chicken parmigiana, her favorite, but with too much sauce, if her nose was correct, which it always was. Charlotte straightened the pictures herself, then followed. She chose to leave Simon online for the rest of the evening. He had already been such a big help that she thought it would be wise to let him guide her through the rest of the ordeal. When her brother Bernie and his wife Liz let themselves in, Seaman made sure to remind Charlotte to stand to greet them, accept the hugs they threatened her with, and occasionally look in their eyes. She mostly failed at that one. Liz made a point of showing off her engagement ring for the 100th time, as if Charlotte hadn't already seen it. Instead of telling her so and refusing to look, she listened to Simon and begrudgingly glanced at the gaudy diamond again. It wasn't that she wasn't happy for her brother. They were a good match as far as she could tell. It was just that jewelry, no matter how important, was not her thing. She had none of her own. The cold metal and the pinching fit of rings, bracelets and necklaces abraded her skin until it felt like someone was rubbing sandpaper all over her body. Not to mention punching holes in her ears with a machine that had penetrated an unknowable number of other people. Forget about it. Her parents arrived next, and she sighed as Seaman told her to accept the smothering grip of her mother's arms. Her dad's awkward hello, followed by blessed silence and a good 3 feet distance, was a welcome relief. Before she knew it, the greetings were over, and thanks to Seaman's guidance, she was seated at the dinner table with a smiling family rather than a yelling one. They were only still for a few moments before Jenny, so house-proud she almost danced across the kitchen, placed down upon the table a steaming tray. It had a solid lid that hid its contents. "I made your favorite, birthday girl," she sang musically. "Chicken parmigiana." "I know. I can smell it," Charlotte said. Her sister's smile instantly dropped, and she unceremoniously yanked the lid of the dish. "Yes," she said, and returned to the kitchen to bring through what Charlotte hoped were the correct sides. "That wasn't kind, Miss Merriweather," Seaman voiced, directly into her mind. At those words, Charlotte was glad only she could hear him. "Your sister was enjoying the theatrics of presenting her efforts. You cut her off and ruined her reveal before it happened." "Oh," Charlotte responded. "I thought she was asking. Checking it was my favorite. How was I supposed to know?" "The singing and the hidden dish, the way she said it. We can discuss it later. That was a tricky one. You should focus back on the situation at hand." When Charlotte brought her attention back to the room, there was a large bowl of salad and another of French fries in the center of the large table. "Is there extra lettuce?" she asked, before she thought it through. It was the question she asked every time, of everyone. "Yes, Charlotte. I'm just bringing your damn bowl of lettuce. It's all for you," Jenny said flatly, and dumped it down on the table next to her. "She's mad at me. She's going to hate me all evening now. I didn't mean to." "She doesn't hate you, Miss Merriweather. She is upset, yes, but she is your sister, and she loves you dearly. Look at what she's made for you. She did all of this just for you. You should tell her that you appreciate it and what you think of it. Go on." "This is amazing, Jenny. Thank you for cooking for me. I know you wanted to go out for lunch, but I wouldn't have coped in a loud restaurant, and I find the evenings much easier. So, thank you. And for the lettuce as well. I can see those are the fries that I like too, the thin ones that aren't too skinny or too wide, the ones with the salt." "You're welcome, Charlotte," Jenny said, smiling bashfully. "What do you think of the chicken? Do you like it?" "There's too much sauce." Oh, Miss Merriweather, that was almost beautiful, but when someone asks you about their cooking, one must always highlight the positive. Well, I tried. I tried to get it all right, Char. I really did. I thought you'd be grateful. I did all this just for you. Her sister exploded and threw the towel that was still draped over her shoulder against the table in a huff. I don't understand, Simon. I said thank you. I told her all the things that I liked. Why is she so mad yet again? She asked you if you liked the chicken. Your response, although not outright stating it, inferred that the answer was no. That is the main dish of the meal, and your sister will have taken this as a grave insult. But that's not what I said. I didn't say I don't like it. I didn't say it was bad. I didn't even say it was wrong. I just said there's too much sauce because, well, there is. I told her the truth. Oh, Miss Merriweather, humans are complicated creatures. You are absolutely correct in your logic, but my dear, sometimes people don't want the truth. They want reassurance. Then she should have asked for that instead of my opinion, Charlotte thought, while scraping the excess sauce from her meal. Jenny didn't speak to her again for the rest of the evening, and instead, jilted conversation reigned around Charlotte. She kept her head down and tried not to get too involved in any of it. It was safer that way. She was less likely to say the wrong thing again. The plates were cleared and dessert followed. No one asked her if she liked the homemade strawberry cheesecake, which was a shame, because it was perfect. Once the table was emptied of food, and her family had finished their never-ending small talk that resulted in nothing at all being said, a carefully wrapped gift was thrust in front of her. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," her mother said, beaming with smiles and expectation. "Oh no," Charlotte projected towards Simon. "Remember, we discussed this at length. No matter what it is, smile, say thank you, and take it home. If you hate it, you don't have to use it." "But—" "Those are the rules, Miss Merriweather. Follow them and everyone will leave happy this evening." Charlotte dared glance up for long enough to see that all eyes were fixed on her, waiting grins plastered on every face. It felt like if she didn't move soon, they would all pounce across the table and tear into the package for her. She almost hoped they would, so she didn't have to deal with it. Instead, she gritted her teeth and slid her fingers under the edge of the foil wrapping paper, shuddering as she did so. It was far too akin to smooth metal. She quickly flicked the disgusting stuff away from her, revealing underneath a small framed painting. "It's by a famous street artist," her mother exclaimed. "It's all the rage nowadays, this graffiti art. I thought it would look wonderful in the hallway of your apartment." Charlotte took a deep breath, smiled, nodded, and said thank you. "Oh, jolly good show, Miss Merriweather. Wonderful, just wonderful." "So what do you think?" her mother persisted. "Do you like it?" "Oh no," Simon projected this time. No, not really. Mum, I'm sorry. I prefer oil paintings, old-fashioned landscapes, that sort of thing. But if you really like it, you can have it." "Oh my goodness, Miss Merriweather, no." Charlotte watched her mother's face turn from excitement to absolute horror. Just as her evening had begun, the look of contempt and hurt on the face staring back at her was so clear that it could not be misinterpreted. "Okay. Well, I suppose if you don't want it, then I'll have to, won't I? We should get going, it's late. We will see you soon, sweetheart." And with that, her parents simply grabbed their coats and left. That was the wrong thing to say, wasn't it, Seaman? Yes, I'm afraid it was. What was I supposed to do? Just lie? Isn't lying supposed to be wrong? Even if I did, I'd be resigning myself to another graffiti painting every Christmas and birthday for the next 10 years. Where would I hide them all? She would see they weren't up every time she visited. Am I just supposed to live with the most ugly art on my walls forever? To spare my mother's feelings? It's so stupid. It's all so stupid. It is rather illogical. You're right. You're always right, Miss Merriweather. Unfortunately, you must navigate these complex waters as best you can, for humans have so very many strange customs. But I will be here with you, for as long as you'll have me. You'll always have my guiding hand, should you need it. You don't have hands, and you know full well that you are embedded in my spinal cord. You couldn't leave even if you wanted to. Correct again, Miss Merriweather. Yet I would choose to remain regardless. That's sweet, Seaman. Thank you. Now what should I have said then? Because I'm so confused. You need not lie. Simply and gently state that the gift is not to your taste, but you sincerely appreciate the thought and effort that was put into it, and you love that your mother would think of you so. Then take the thing home. Do not, under any circumstances, re-gift it to the gifter. That is abysmally rude. Right, got it. I guess I know for next time. She must be talking to that computer chip, Bernie finished saying as Charlotte regained awareness of the room. He was waving his hand slowly in front of her eyes at the same time, with a bemused grin on his face. Liz was looking at her with pinched lips and narrowed eyebrows. That meant disapproval, she was pretty sure. Jenny was slamming dirty dishes around the kitchen far harder than was necessary, having apparently left the table a while ago. "Simon." "Yes, Miss Merriweather." "Get me out of here, please." "With pleasure, Miss Merriweather. Follow my lead." Story 6. I look at my watch. It's 10:06 p.m. Shit, I'm late for my shift again. I swear this work is killing me. Every day all I do is move boxes from one end of the store to another. Today, like every other day, my shift started promptly at 10 o'clock p.m, but of course I only clock in at 10:06 p.m. The store is almost completely silent, except for the low hum of fluorescent lights flickering overhead. In a few hours, Joan, Noah, and Nate will start their shifts too. The night shifts at IKEA are not glamorous, but they pay the bills, I guess. I used to get freaked out by the towering furniture, the long dark aisles, and all the throw pillows that for some reason resembled faces. But now I just scoff and pick up one box after another, and they say night shifts mess with your head. It's not even the darkness that gets to me. It's the way everything looks almost real, but not quite. It's the way I see customers from my periphery, shopping, laughing. It's the way I sometimes can't find the exit. I always do, of course. I'm just a little tired. When was the last time I slept? I started at IKEA a week ago, 10 to 6. No customers, no noise, just me and the soft hum of industrial lighting, pushing carts through fake kitchens and quiet bedrooms. It was fine until today. Today I heard someone's voice. At first I thought it was Joan, a tall, stocky woman who never acknowledges me. She's rude, but she gets the job done, so I don't mind too much. I'm sure this wasn't her voice. Not that I remember what it sounds like. No, the voice I heard was what people in the old days would call a siren. It was low, almost husky. It was familiar. "Jonas, what time?" It called me. It stopped me cold. Where have I heard that voice before? I followed it. Past aisle 14, past the lighting section where bulbs buzzed like flies, toward the back, where the showroom melts into warehouse. "Jonas, what time is it?" It wasn't a sound from the store. It was too warm, too intimate. It was her voice. I couldn't remember her name, but I knew her. The hallway narrowed as I moved deeper into the back of the store. I could feel the air shift, warmer somehow, heavier. The voice had gone silent. I stopped at the edge of aisle 19. I peek into it. The bedroom setup was the same as always. Low, fake moonlight cast from a dusty lamp. A bed no one had ever slept in, perfectly made. Or maybe someone had. There was a faint indent in the bedsheet on the edge of the bed. That was new. I took a step in. A cold breath passed by my ear. I turned. No one. I'm just tired. "Jonas, no! What time is it?" This time the voice shrieked, piercing my eardrums. I doubled over in pain. A clock. Fine. If this eerie bitch wants me to look at a clock, then I'll go to an aisle where they sell them. I keep walking, passing more aisles. Just rows of identical dresses, each with a mirror reflecting mirrors reflecting mirrors. My reflection looked pale. I blinked. My reflection didn't. Weird. My mind is playing tricks on me. "Jonas, no." Such a sweet, soothing voice. It hypnotized me. I smiled for a second, then I came to and turned behind me. The aisle was empty. A laugh escapes me, short, nervous. Weird, I say to no one. I keep walking, but something's pulling at me. A feeling, like I'm forgetting something important. I turn into aisle 19. It's just another bedroom display, soft lighting, a neatly made bed, a lamp glowing blue, boxes lying out of order on the floor. I thought I put them away. Then I swear, just for a second, I see someone there, on the floor by those boxes, a shape. I blink, it's gone. The air feels heavier here. The silence is deeper. I'm supposed to move some boxes into this aisle from the storage. Duh! Here I am, wasting time, listening to some hallucinations. I head back to the front. How much time did I waste? I look at my watch. 10:06 p.m. Shit, I'm late for my shift again. I better clock in. I swear this work is killing me. I start every shift the same way. Swipe my badge, walk through the sliding doors. The store is dead quiet except for the hum of overhead lights and the buzz of air vents echoing through the rafters. Night shifts at IKEA are strange. Sure, but peaceful, mostly. Rows of frozen smiles on showroom mannequins, mock kitchens full of empty drawers, perfect little lives, on display. It used to scare me, but it doesn't anymore. I pick up some boxes and start moving them to aisle 19. My God, can I clock in on time just once in my life? I put the boxes down by a mirror. I stare at my pale reflection. It blinks. I'm so tired, I'm seeing things now. A woman's voice, low, smooth, like someone singing from underwater. Jonas, no. What time is it? I hold my breath. The voice is beautiful, warm, familiar. I run toward it, toward the front of the store. I see customers in my periphery, see my co-workers, but I know my brain is tricking me. I don't even care, I have to find her. What time is it, Jonas? I stand by the storage door. She's not there. Time? I look at my watch. 10:06 p.m. Shit, I'm late again. I better clock in and start working. I swear this work is killing me. Every day, all I do is move boxes from one end of the store to another. Today, like every other day, my shift started promptly at 10 o'clock p.m., but of course I only clock in at 10:06 p.m. The store is almost completely silent, except for the low hum of fluorescent lights flickering overhead, a buzzing like static, or whispering through walls. In a few hours, Joan, Noah, and Nate will start their shifts too. The night shifts at IKEA aren't glamorous, but they pay the bills, I guess. I used to get freaked out by the towering furniture, the long dark aisles, and all the throw pillows that, for some reason, resembled faces. But now I just scoff and pick up one box after another. Still, sometimes the mannequins seem too still, like they're waiting for something. Sometimes I hear customers laughing in the distance, even though the store's closed. I tell myself it's just echoes. From earlier shifts, maybe, or a speaker system glitch. I don't remember how long I've worked here. A week? Longer? When was the last time I slept? I turn into aisle 19. It's just another bedroom display. Soft lighting, a neatly made bed, a lamp glowing blue. Boxes lie scattered across the floor, out of order, crooked. I thought I put them away. Then I swear, just for a second, I see someone there, on the floor by the boxes, a shape. A body. I blink. It's gone. I look into one of the mirrors and see the shape there. Jonas, no. What time is it? It's a beautiful voice. It's haunting. It doesn't match the face. Joan's rough face with her short, unwashed hair twisted into a scowl, crying, screaming. What time is it? She asks sadly. She is sitting on the edge of the bed now. Something about the way she says it turns my stomach. Like she's not asking about the hour. Like she's asking something else entirely. Jonas, no, she screams now. The mirror has turned into a moving picture. I glance into it. My reflection lags a beat behind me. My face is pale, hollow. I'm lying on the floor and my name tag is upside down. The heavy boxes are scattered near me. A young man has been pushing on my chest over and over. He switches with another man. They keep going for 10 minutes, 20. What time is it? Joan says softly now to no one. Time to call it, the man says. Time of death, 10:06 p.m. I look at my watch. It's 10:06 p.m. Shit, I'm late for my shift again. I swear this work is killing me.